Good morning, everybody. It is 10 a.m. and we are just going to do some technical checks before we begin. We want to make sure that everybody has joined us for the meeting, and we'll ask our host, Natalie Smith, if okay, it looks like more folks are joining in. Great, welcome everybody. Good morning. Good morning. We're just going to make sure that everybody has come into the meeting for today. This is our first virtual meeting for the Board of Commissioners on a Tuesday at 10 a.m. So we just want to make sure everything is in place, but it looks like we have everybody who's been admitted into the room. And so what we'll do is it's 10 a.m. So we will call the meeting to order. And I believe that we're going to be having it recorded as well. So we'll wait till that begins. And I'll just get a confirmation that we are recording. Okay, great. All right, excellent. So we are recording. Good morning, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us. This is the Board of Commissioners meeting for Tuesday, December 1st at 10 a.m. I'm the chair, Michael Pipe, and I am joined with my two commissioner colleagues. I'll let them introduce themselves at this point. Commissioner Higgins.
Commissioner Mark Higgins, you're on video.
Commissioner Steve Dersham on the phone.
Okay, good morning to everybody. What we're doing is, as a part of our COVID-19 mitigation efforts, the county government in Center County is going as virtual as possible for the next 2 weeks. So we are in the second business day of a 10-day stretch that will last until December 17th at least. I'm sorry, 11th at least, and that is an effort to reduce the amount of individuals we have coming into our buildings, but still keeping essential county government services active and providing them to the citizens of Center County. So we appreciate you joining us today again for our first public meeting on a Tuesday at 10 a.m. Virtually. So with that, we will ask you to join us with the Pledge of Allegiance, and we're going to do a screen share, I believe, of the American flag here, if we can pull that up at this point for the pledge. And if that's not working, that's okay. We will still, please say with us, if you would. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all very much. Okay, at this time we will accept public comment. And since this is the first time we're doing it on Zoom on a Tuesday, we would just ask people to unmute themselves, and we will recognize them. And what we're going to do is we're going to accept public comment at this point for anything that is not on our agenda. So if there's anything, any topic that's not on our agenda that we're not going to be discussing as an agenda item, please feel free to offer public comment at this time. We'll give you 5 minutes to address the board on anything you'd like, and we'll be sure to give you a sign when there's about 1 minute remaining. If there are items on the agenda that you'd like to make public comment for, we ask that you just wait until those are under discussion, then we can take them at that point. So if there's any public that would like to make any comments at this time on anything not on the agenda, feel free to unmute yourself. We will give you plenty of time. We want to assure that everybody that can make comment that would like to. So is there anybody who'd like to make public comment at this time? And if you are not able to, you should be able to unmute yourself. Feel free to, if you're having any issues, you can put in the chat window that you'd like to make some comments as well. And if we need to unmute you, we can do that as well. But we do know that some people did want to make some public comment, and we want to make sure that they are available to do that. Okay, we are seeing no one that is interested in public comment. At this time, we just want to make sure for a second time, if there's anybody who would like to make public comment for items not on the agenda, please feel free to either unmute yourself or place a message in the chat window to everyone, and we will be able to recognize you at this time. One more time, is there anybody who would like to make any public comment? Okay. All right, we are seeing no one here for public comment on items not on the agenda. Okay, so we will continue on then to our next item, and that is the approval of our minutes from our meeting last week on Tuesday, November 24th. Would there be a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes from the November 24th Board of Commissioners meeting.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion on those minutes? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried. Okay. We will then go into our next item, which is our COVID-19 planning and response portion of the agenda, and we will turn it over to Margaret to discuss and present the personnel travel policy at this time.
Okay, thank you. The Board of Commissioners approved a COVID-19 personal travel policy on July 30th of 2020. And given the governor's new orders a week ago, we are proposing revisions to this policy so that we are in sync with the governor's orders. So the exact change, previously it was required that if an employee was going to a state that had been identified by our Pennsylvania Department of Health as a state with a high incidence of COVID-19, then a quarantine was necessary upon return. Of course, the governor's order and the Department of Health orders have changed that to require anyone leaving the state and coming back in needing to either have a negative COVID-19 test within 72 hours prior to their return to the state or to quarantine for 14 days upon return to Pennsylvania. That is the proposed revision to the policy for your review and approval this morning.
Okay, thank you very much, Margaret. Any questions amongst the board, feedback, comments for Margaret at this time?
I just appreciated the color coding on the changes. It was very helpful.
My only question is, if somebody is on personal business and not county business, I'm not sure that we have the capability of enforcing anything beyond a suggestion.
Well, that essentially would be the vacation. So it's not necessarily that. So if somebody is, for whatever reason, that's not county related, if they're leaving the area per the state, they need to quarantine for 14 days or get a test. And we heard Dr. Burks over the weekend, might have actually been, yeah, it was over the weekend, say that if you traveled over Thanksgiving, you should assume that you have been exposed and you should quarantine for the quarantine period. So I'm comfortable, if somebody has for personal reasons traveled outside the area, they still need to do the quarantining as directed to the state. So it's not necessarily that we're promoting or we're leading with this. It's that the state has said that this is what they're mandating and that we need to follow along with it. So if individuals have traveled for whatever reason, personal or whatever personal reasons they would have, we're essentially saying to them, you must quarantine, or get that test, a negative test. That's how I read the policy. In terms of whether we can enforce it or not, I think we can. If somebody knowingly violates this policy, there would be disciplinary action. We can talk about whether or not those are appropriate, but I think it's important for us to be in line with what the federal government and the state government are putting out there.
No, I appreciate that. I just think enforcement of the policy is troubling to me, because what an individual does on their personal time, I think it's difficult for me to discipline somebody for that. So that would be my concern.
That's a fair statement. I think we would, hopefully nobody violates it, but if individuals would, I think the challenge becomes if they've exposed themselves to a hot zone, or now the state's basically saying if you travel out of, first off, I don't think a lot of our employees did travel outside of the state for the Thanksgiving holiday. I hope they wouldn't, but I think most of them probably either kept it locally or somewhere within the Commonwealth. They did travel outside the state. Again, the likelihood of them exposing themselves to individuals who would have COVID does increase, and so that where the concern comes in. But again, we are giving. We are in a remote status. So if they did travel and they are at home working remotely, that satisfies the policy. Margaret, would that be correct?
That is correct.
And then in terms of the discipline in this, I actually don't see much discipline in here or penalties. So
There- Correct. There is no provision contained within the policy for disciplinary action should someone not follow this guidance. Correct.
so does that help at all, Commissioner Dersham?
Yes, again, I just think anytime you mandate conduct, outside the workplace, you have to be very careful, and that would be my concern.
No, I agree with that. I know we have policies restricting individuals in terms of employment. In terms of we've always been cautious if an individual would have a, if they were doing. I don't know how that's phrased, but I know that we have concerns regarding that in terms of other employment or at certain. I think it's at certain levels. Potentially, I think it's department head level employment elsewhere, that needs to be checked with the administrator, I believe, just in terms of focus with their jobs here at the county. But so there are some things that we do. If you do want to work for county government, you do need to go through some hoops in terms of what you do outside of work time. But I do understand what you're saying. But the way that I'd approach this is if somebody would violate this, we would discuss it at that point, and take it on a case by case basis.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay. All right. Any other thoughts, comments from the board on this before we look for any public comment from anybody? Okay. Seeing no further discussion on that, would there be any public comment on this policy? And again, you can unmute yourself, put a message in the chat window. Either way is fine with us. Okay, we're seeing none. Then we would then look, Margaret, would you like a motion to approve this? Would you like a motion for the consent agenda? What would you like?
A motion to approve would be helpful. We are receiving many questions from employees wanting to do the right things here. So it would be helpful to approve it today.
Okay, would there be a motion to that effect?
Motion to approve the updated COVID-19 personnel travel policy.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion on the policy? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried. Okay, thank you very much, Margaret. We appreciate that. We will move then to our RFP section. We have a capital project, which is holdover from several meetings ago. And this is for the RFP for the camera system. And so, Margaret, we'll turn it back over to you for an update.
Yes, thanks very much. 2 weeks ago, bids were opened at the Board of Commissioners meeting. We have received 2 bids for our camera system, and the committee is evaluating. On-site meetings have been held with the potential vendors, and they just need a couple of more days to go through all of the fine points and details before they bring a recommendation to you. They will be ready by Thursday to do that. So we're asking to table this until Thursday's Board of Commissioners meeting.
Thank you, Margaret. Any discussion on tabling? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion then to table it until Thursday?
Motion to table the contract award for the RFP Center County camera system until Thursday, December 3rd.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any final discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried. Okay, thank you, Margaret. We now have a contract renewal with Kronos, and we will welcome Chad Joyce, and he will discuss this item. Hi, Chad.
Good morning. Yes, we have a contract for consideration. It's a renewal with Kronos software. Kronos provides the county with some timekeeping for various departments. The contract total is $22,500.01, and it would run January 24th, 2021 to January 23rd, 2022.
Thank you, Chad. Any questions, feedback for Chad on this? Okay, hearing and seeing none, is there a motion?
Sure. Motion to add the contract renewal with Kronos to next week's consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to move the contract to next week's consent agenda. Any further discussion on that? Seeing and hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried. Okay, Chad, thank you so much.
Thanks, Chad.
Okay, next agenda item is for us to consider an appointment to a representative on a local study project for a transportation project. And we will turn it over to Margaret to make that recommendation, and we'll go from there. Margaret, to you.
Yes, thank you very much. The Pennsylvania Department of Transportation is seeking partners, stakeholders to join in a State College Area Connector Planning Environmental Linkage Study. And the purpose of this study is to evaluate transportation improvements in our county. And it's an early planning study process that will provide and consider environmental, community, and economic goals early in the planning stage that can be carried through the design and construction. And so PennDOT has asked Center County government if it would like to be a stakeholder in this process and to identify a designee from the county to serve on this study group. The recommendation is to ask Ann Mesner from our planning office, our senior transportation officer, if she would serve in this capacity on your behalf.
Okay, thank you very much, Margaret. We know Ann well, and we hope that she would definitely do a great job. So any discussion on this amongst the board?
If I may interrupt.
None.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
No.
I appreciate you nominating me to do this. I do have a challenge with this in terms of being with the MPO, and it will not necessarily hinder my work with the MPO, but it would be more useful if either Ray or one of the commissioners actually was the representative. Otherwise, I have to change my role that I'm currently serving with the Pell study.
Okay. All right. So why don't we thank you, Ann, for that. Why don't we table this until Thursday and we can loop back to this. There's no rush on this. We do know that the study group is approaching the project and does want to get some stakeholder input and that board somewhat finalized. So we appreciate that, Ann. Thank you. And what we'll do is we'll look for a motion to table this until Thursday, and then we'll go from there.
Motion to table the appointment of the representative for Center County government to the State College Area Connector Planning and Environmental Linkage Study.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor do so by saying aye. Aye.
Yeah.
The motion is carried. Okay. All right. We will revisit that on Thursday. We will head on to our grant section. This is related to our community development block grant. We do know that we have Ray Mitzi from CEDACOG on the phone with us. So we'll turn it over to Ray at this time. Good morning, Ray.
Morning, commissioners. This morning we have a consideration for a budget revision on behalf of Bellefonte Borough under fiscal year 2019. And I'll let Mitzi go through some of the fiscal aspects of the request.
Morning. Thanks, Ray. Bellefonte Borough requested to revise $16,665.14 of their administration cost and put it into project for Talleyrand Park.
Okay. Thank you, Mitzi. Any questions, feedback on this amendment or modification?
I just wanted to compliment Bellefonte Borough on their commitment to the project. Talleyrand Park is a wonderful place, and it would be so nice if there were actually 2 pedestrian bridges for ease of access to places like Good Intent Cider. And also it would probably make a very nice walking loop where you could go around, and I don't know what it would end up being, 1/4 mile, 1/3 of a mile, but it would just be a nice addition to the park.
Much agreed. Absolutely. Okay, super. Any other comments, questions on this before we look for the motion? Okay. Hearing and seeing none, we will look for a motion.
Motion to add the Community Development Block Grant revision modification certification for the Bellefonte Borough to next week's consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank
Motion
you.
has- You're welcome, Mitzi. Thank you, Mitzi, and thank you, Ray.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
We have today's consent agenda in front of us. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve today's consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion on it? Okay, hearing and seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
The motion has carried. Okay. We'll move down into liquid fuels, local fee for local use, and we'll turn it over to Margaret for this.
Request from Penn Township to reallocate remaining funds from their 2020 liquid fuels program allocation. The program award was $22,000 with the guide rail project cost totaling $14,137.15, leaving a remaining balance of $7,862.50.
Okay, thank you very much, Margaret. Would there be a motion?
Motion to approve the request from Penn Township to reallocate the remaining funds from their 2020 liquid fuels program allocation.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, and we do want to thank Penn Township for coming in under budget, and hopefully they'll put that remaining balance to good use. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion
Aye.
is carried. Okay. All right. We're going into our ABCs, and we have 4 actions for the Agricultural Land Preservation Board, or the Ag Land Board as we're shorthand. We have Dennis Buffington and Frederick Moore and Sydney Harding looking for reappointment. And this will also, we will also take action today to appoint Cindy Harding as chair. The way that board is set up is the Board of Commissioners actually designates the chair, not the entity itself. So we'd also be looking for that action. And their terms are running from September 1st of 2021 until August 31st of 2021. We may need to, for Cindy's appointment as chair, also note that as taking effect immediately as well, if I'm reading that correctly, because Norm Lathberry, the former chair, has resigned from the board, and Norm has been a longstanding member of the board and has been on and off that. So he was on, he became the director of the office itself, and then was on and off of it. So we appreciate his long service. So Commissioner Higgins, just to make sure I have that correct, you're the liaison to this. Cindy would really need to be appointed chair immediately, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
The board, I think, has some business coming up. I believe Diana's working hard so that can be done remotely, but yes, they need a chair as soon as possible.
Okay. All right. So we will then look for, again, Mr. Buffington and Mr. Moore reappointment, and Cindy, Miss Harding as well. But we would also take action to appoint Miss Harding as the chair effective immediately. So we look for a motion for the ABCs today.
Sure, happy to do that. But again, want to thank Norm Lathberry for his long service to the county and to this particular board. So I will make the motion to reappoint Dennis Buffington, Frederick Moore, and Cindy Harding to the Agricultural Land Preservation Board, to accept the resignation of Norm Lathberry from the Agricultural Land Preservation Board, and to appoint Cindy Harding as chair of the Agricultural Land Preservation Board effective immediately.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Any final discussion on that action? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried. Okay. Margaret, anything to report under administrator's report?
No report today.
Okay. Any other discussion items to come before us today under discussion items?
I just wanted to mention very briefly, there's a very popular social media page called Uncovering Pennsylvania, and they just rated Bellefonte as one of the 21 best small towns in Pennsylvania. Some of the other towns nominated for that were Jim Thorpe and also Gettysburg. So Bellefonte is in great company, and what's especially nice is the photo they decided to use to promote this list was a picture of the 100 North block of Allegheny, most especially the Kreider Exchange. So I'm pretty excited from a tourism standpoint that over 250,000 people are opening up their Uncovering PA newsletter, website, and social media, and all they see is downtown Bellefonte.
Very nice. Any courthouse shots or?
No courthouse shots, but they did mention Curtin Village as a great place to visit when you're in the Bellefonte area. And they talked about the wonderful B&Bs and inns in the Bellefonte area as well. We do obviously have some great ones here.
Oh, super. Excellent. No, anytime Bellefonte, the county jewel, can get some notoriety is tremendous. So super. Well, super. Okay. All right. And Commissioner Higgins will keep it with you for the check run.
Sure. We have a smaller than usual check run in the amount of $858,373.96. The check run would have been even smaller, but I have more checks of the week that are CARES Act grants from the commissioners going to our local school districts and small businesses. And those checks totaled $211,610.29 of the total amount this week. Obviously want to thank Margaret Gray, Mary Kay Williams, Tom Martin and his staff in finance, and Jason Mosier in the controller's office for all of the extra work required to cut all of these extra checks. I very much appreciate that. So I will make the motion to approve the check run dated November 25th.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the check run. Any further discussion on the check run? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
The motion has carried. Okay, thank you, Commissioner. We have no CNET requests, no recognitions today, but Commissioner Dersham, anything to report on the voter registration front?
We do not have a voter registration report this morning, hopefully very soon.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, any executive sessions to report, Margaret?
No executive sessions to report.
Okay, any need for executive sessions?
Need for any.
Okay, thank you. We have the balance of our public meeting schedule available here. We will not be meeting again as a board until Thursday. Again, it'll be 10 a.m. And let's see here. All right, and we do again on Thursday, we will be discussing the camera system RFP contract award a little bit more. All right, any questions from the press at this point? We will recognize anybody. Again, unmute yourself and ask any questions you'd like at this point. Okay, we are not seeing any questions from the press at this point, so we will look for then a motion to adjourn. It is 10:28. Is there a motion to do so?
Motion to adjourn at 10:28.
Second.
All those in favor of adjourning, do so by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you all very much. We appreciate you again spending some time with us today. Have a great day and a great week. Stay safe. Bye.